Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into Chapter 3, Election and Representation. And trust me, by the end of this, you are going to be totally exam ready on the fascinating way India actually elects its leaders. So let's get right into it. I mean, really think about that for a second. You go, you cast your vote, but what's the actual machine, the system, that turns all those millions of votes into one single winner for your local area? It sounds simple, right? But the method a country picks, well, that has absolutely huge consequences for everything. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at the two big ways elections can be run. Then, we'll dig into why India chose the path it did. After that, we'll explore India's really unique solution for making sure everyone gets a fair shake. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a super fast revision of the key ideas you absolutely need to know for your exams. All right, let's jump into our first section. At the end of the day, every democracy has to pick a blueprint for how it runs its elections. And really, there are two main designs that pretty much every country in the world bases their system on. Let's break them down. Here they are, the two big ones, side by side. You've got first past the post, which we call FPTP for short, and then you have proportional representation, or PR. And you'll see they have totally different answers to some really basic questions like, how do you divide the country? Who do you even vote for? And most importantly, how do you decide who won? Okay, so let's start with FPT. The number one thing to get about this system is that it's all about local champions. The whole country is sliced up into hundreds of smaller areas we call constituencies. In each little area, a bunch of candidates compete, and the one person who gets the most votes, not necessarily over 50%, just more than anyone else, wins that one seat. That's it. Want to know the easiest way to picture this? Just think of it like a simple foot race. It doesn't matter if you win by a millimeter or by a whole kilometer. The first person to cross that finish line gets the gold medal. Second place? They get nothing. It is absolutely winner take all. Now, let's flip to the other big idea, proportional representation. In this system, you're not just voting for a person in your local area. A lot of the time, you're voting for a political party. The whole point here is about fairness on a national scale. The logic is simple. If a party gets, say, 30% of all the votes across the country, they should get about 30% of the seats in the parliament. And the perfect analogy for this one? A pizza party. Seriously. Imagine the parliament is a giant pizza. If your group makes up 30% of the people at the party, your group gets 30% of the pizza slices. Simple as that. Everybody gets their fair share based on their support. So, that brings us to section 2. You've got these two big ideas, right? The winner-take-all race and the fair share pizza party. So, when India's constitution makers were deciding, which path did they take? Well, they made a very clear choice. They went for the race. But why? It really boiled down to three big things. First, and this was huge, simplicity. In a massive country with all kinds of people, you needed a system that was just easy to understand. Second, stability. The FTPT system usually gives one party a clear majority, which makes it easier to form a stable government. And third, accountability. You know exactly who your person is, your local representative. You have one name, one face to go to, and one person to hold responsible. But, and this is a huge but, there's a major side effect to this whole winner-take-all thing. Because a party can win a ton of seats by just a few votes here and there, the final results in parliament can look way different from the actual percentage of people who voted for them. Just look at this. It's a perfect example from the Tamil Nadu election in 2016. The AIADMK party got just over 40% of the votes. But check out the seats. They walked away with 58% of the seats, giving them a huge majority. That gap right there between how many people voted for you and how much power you get, that's the central trade-off of the FPTP system. But no matter what system we're talking about, it all stands on one single powerful idea: universal adult franchise. You have to know this term. It simply means every single adult citizen, no matter their caste, religion, gender, anything, has the right to vote, and every vote is equal. It's the engine of our democracy. Okay, which brings us to our third section. See, the founders knew the FPTP system could have this problem, especially in a place as diverse as India. So they were smart about it. They built a kind of safety valve, a unique solution right into the Constitution to make sure nobody got left out. Here was the big question they had to solve. If elections are just about getting the most votes, what's to stop a dominant social group in an area from winning every single time? How do you make sure smaller, historically marginalized communities actually get a voice in parliament and aren't just drowned out election after election? And the solution they came up with was honestly pretty ingenious: reservation of constituencies. Here's how it works. In certain districts, everybody still gets to vote. But the only people who can stand as candidates are those belonging to a specific scheduled caste or scheduled tribe. This system guarantees, it's a guarantee, that these communities will have representatives in our legislature. Now, you might be thinking, why do it this way? Why not just have separate voting lists for different communities, something the British had introduced? Well, this quote from the debates when the Constitution was being written says it all. The founders completely rejected that idea. They felt it was divisive, that it was a curse that would break the country apart. They wanted a system that brought people together, not one that separated them. So who gets to decide which seats are reserved, or even where the constituency boundaries are drawn? That is the job of this incredibly important body, the Delimitation Commission. It's totally independent, and its only job is to look at the latest population numbers from the census and draw a fair electoral map for the entire country. It's a vital, neutral referee in the game of politics. All right, deep breath. We have covered a ton of ground. So let's switch gears and go into pure revision mode. This is where we are going to lock in all those key concepts so you are 100% ready for any question that comes your way. And here's a fascinating little twist. While India uses the winner-take-all FTPT system for the Lok Sabha, we actually do use a form of proportional representation for Rajya Sabha elections. It's a bit complex, but basically, voters don't just pick one person, they rank the candidates. A formula calculates a minimum number of votes needed to win, and if a candidate gets extra surplus votes, those votes get passed down to their voter's second choice. It's a cool example of using different systems for different jobs. Okay, people, this is it. Your final exam cheat sheet. Let's do a rapid-fire review. First past the post, or FPTP, that's the winner-take-all race. Proportional representation, or PR, that's the fair share pizza party. Constituency, the local area that elects one person. Reservation, the system that guarantees seats for SC and SD candidates. Delimitation Commission, the independent body that draws the electoral map. And universal adult franchise, the core principle that every adult gets one equal vote. Get these 6 down and you are golden. And we'll end on this. The system India chose was designed for the world of the 1950s. But today, our society, our politics, our technology, everything is changing so fast. So it's a real question worth asking. Is the system we have now still the absolute best one to carry us into the future? It's something to think about. And that is a wrap on our explainer for election and representation. I really hope this helps you feel way more confident for your exams. If you found it useful, do me a favor, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and definitely subscribe to the A1 Institute for more exam-ready breakdowns just like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.